Okay, February 2018. So it's a bit of a longer video I've got for you guys today, which was the D&D character that we voted on. So we've got a druid, Genasi, who is essentially a sort of like a partial elemental. They're the kids of Jinn, so elemental genies. And this character here today is going to be a water genasi. So as you can see, as I flick back and forth, I've already built up a folder of images that I want to pull on. So what I'm laying out on Photoshop at the moment is I picked a couple of reference poses out of the DeviantArt stock image page. So I knew that my Genasi was going to be wielding a spear. And that she's got a bond companion of a water cat. So you can see me here just quickly splicing together some images that I already found that have the rough idea of what I want. And what's in the other screen at the moment is my rough sketch that I did a couple of weeks ago when it looked pretty clear that the polls were going to lean towards the Water Genasi Druid as the one you guys wanted to see. So the initial sketch helped me just nut out the sorts of things I was probably going to include. I really like Leisha, my partner, who this is based on, helped me out with suggestions, for example, like shells for buttons and like a compass in the gauntlet and what weapons she wanted to have, so a dagger and a spear. So I already had a feel for what was going to go into this. The whale tail pendant is one that Leisha actually owns. So here again, I found a pretty cool spear. I think it's from a video game, might even be Skyrim. I liked that it's got that kind of crab claw aesthetic, so I was going to pull from that. So I'm really hoping to get like quite a refined character out of this. And so I'm flipping back and forth between the rough sketch that I did for the character and a couple of just style references that I thought had some really cool elements to them. Even though it's a tiefling, a horned one, they still had that ocean theme to it. So yeah, so I'm mainly focusing on getting a really good sketch out right now, using the frame of my reference pose. So yeah, if you have never used DeviantArt as a reference library, get on it, because a lot of people do some amazing reference photo collections. Unfortunately, I do not have the name of the deviant who shot these ones. I do have it in my records. I'll try and get that up into the Patreon notes for proper credit. So yeah, so this tiefling here in my reference images, I think is just like the netting and the shells just looks awesome. So I'm definitely going to incorporate that net into this character. So you can see in my original sketch, I just sort of had like a long belted vest that sort of came down to sort of the mid-thigh. But that net really took my imagination. So I'm sort of modifying my original costume design a bit to fit. But I'm still keeping the top, like the top half of that vest there. And I want, like, the compass was a bit of an afterthought in the original sketch, so I want that to sort of stick out a little bit more in this one. I generally spend about an hour looking for reference images before I start doing something like this. Generally because, like, while I may have an idea in mind, there could be stuff that I never thought of until I start looking into the themes that I want to explore. Like the scaling on the tunic was something that never occurred to me until I started looking up. Sort of what did I Google? I googled like pirates, sea druids straight up, water elementals. The knife is Persian. I don't know why I fixed on that, but I looked up Persian knives. I guess I wanted something a little bit more Eastern for this character. So yeah, really thinking about the tools that she would be using, or they. I want this character to be a bit more gender fluid. the other thing I sort of got attached to was the idea of the barnacles on the pants. Or like originally I thought like salt stain, but again this character that I've got in my reference has the cool starfish and barnacles attached to the clothes, as if they're just in the water all the time. Alright, so I've just turned off my character sketch to move on to the familiar. Now, Alicia and I discussed that we wanted a water cat that doesn't look like any creature you've come across before. Something sort of blended with a now I can never remember the name. Axolotl, yes. You want a little bit of an axolotl, a little bit of panther coming through. And I thought this original little fantasy cat had a great pose, but that I could sort of add webbing and a bit more of that axolotl tail and frills. So I have in my head like something that's going to turn out a bit bluey pink, maybe. Who knows? So if you've watched any of my videos before, you know this is sort of my process by now. Rough sketch, do a block shape for each of the elements so that I can mask them. So essentially I'm working on the silhouette now, the body of the character that I can bind all of my painting efforts to. So it can be a bit tedious at this stage to sort of work on that, but it makes my life so much easier in the long run that I don't have to worry about painting outside the lines because I'm really messy. And it's taken me a lot of effort to get better at that. So yeah, so that was the rough version. So now I've just put a semi-opaque layer over the top to do a cleanup sketch. And this one I'll do like a lot cleaner blocking behind the sketch afterwards. This was just mainly to work out what I was putting where, and now I'm doing it a bit nicer. So yes, this is where layers really come into my advantage. So I'll generally have, how will it stack? Sort of rough sketch layer, then rough blocking layer underneath, then opaque layer over the top, clean sketch layer, clean blocking, and then I'll start to clip the colors to the blocking afterwards. So whenever you right click on a layer, you'll be able to see clip to layer. And that will allow you to utilize that feature, which has saved my life. So in my head, I imagine this character is going to have very dark, like sort of fish-like eyes, but I was very attached to the freckles and scaling as well. Alicia has some freckles that are very cute. Get them piercings going along. I'm already like super in love with this character. I think it's cool. Genasi are described, I did lots of D&D research. Genasi are described as having very sort of floaty hair, often related to their element that they are bonded to. So if they're a fire elemental, then they'd have wispy flame-like smoky hair. Air elemental might sort of be wisps of cloud. So what I'm imagining her hair will look like, it will be sort of cresting waves, which you'll see in the colour. Trying to block in netting in line work is just a bit of a pain in the butt. I'm pretty sure I'll paint over it later, but that's alright. It's what I need to plan for right now. This all happens in stages. I originally had a bit more of a culotte pant in the original sketch, as you can see, but I decided something that was still, fairly comfortable, but a bit more fitted to the leg was going to make more sense for this sailor character, because she'd be getting about a bit and needed stuff that was comfortable, but wasn't going to get caught on things. I say that and she's got lots of dangly bits on the edge. Never mind, it made sense in my head. Alright, so there you can see I've got a cleaner sketch now, which I was even able to sort of use my magic wand to select around the sketch so that I could fill perfectly to that sketch quicker than sort of trying to hand paint it in. So obviously the goal is, if I've completely enclosed the sketch, when I use the magic wand, I should just be able to select the silhouette and then fill that silhouette. which, like I said, it's tedious at this point, but saves me a lot of time in the long run, because I've done the hand painting in, and it takes forever. So I don't think I'll bother with doing a cleanup sketch of the water cat, just because to me, the main thing I want to get done in these 3 hours is the character, and really get that essence of that character down. So now we're in my favorite part of any painting, which is roughly blocking in color. So I've switched my brush up at this point to a bit more of a texture brush. It's one of my favorites, that allows me to sort of create a bit more of a painterly look. So now you can see I'm trying to get that ocean wave gradient going on in the hair. And I'm using this character on the other screen as my skin tone reference. So I really liked there was sort of like dark edging, but a little bit of pink coming through where you'd have like the blood coming to the surface. So, even in humans, we have a little bit more red around the nose and around the lips, where we tend to flush a little bit. So I wanted to try and create a balance with that. I think it sort of enhances the half-half nature of the Genasi. We talked about the idea that this Genasi was probably half water djinn and half elven, but she's got the build of a djinn, of a genie. God, I'm so happy at this point. When I know a painting's going well is when I don't even notice the time going by. I think I just stopped talking to people while I was painting this. You just can't. You get in the zone. So I want to get a bit of that like speckling gradient going on. I was a bit worried about it being too harsh, which I don't think works for my character as well as it does for my reference. So I'm going to flip back to my favorite piece of reference for color, and sample a few bits and pieces there. Decided she's probably got like amethyst stones hanging off because she is meant to be a druid, so she's meant to be a bit spiritual. So I want to have a little bit of that coming through. Practical but spiritual, nature loving character. Who's possibly had to leave her ship behind, to pursue a quest of some kind, but always feels the call of the sea. Now I think I'm just kind of splashing colours around. I like that purple sort of tinting back through a little bit more, so it's not all blue and green. Yeah. Still don't have a name for this character, but we'll get there. So at this point, I've clipped a layer to the line layer, which allows me to just color the lines a different color, without affecting like the base layer. So I can sort of turn it on and off as I like. And this is something I've done a lot of lately, just to add a little bit extra nuance of color. I used to be all about solid black lines, but I found them very heavy and very limiting. So I've really loved exploring coloring my lines as a quick way to give a little bit more life to a picture, I guess. So I sort of added some gradients to the silhouette of the character, just so that you're looking more at her face. The legs are sort of less important. I think at this point I'm going to get a little bit lost in trying to create a background texture to suitably fit, because I can't deal with plain grey. So I'm just sort of messing around with a few of my go-to textures. This is a bit of a watercolor splash. Thinking that maybe I can get it to sit on the skin of the cat. I'm also trying some water. So these are all just high-res photos I've pulled off of Google. Generally, if you can get the ones that have Creative Commons license, it's better, because they're free for use. But I've sort of built up a little bit of a library by now. So I just experiment with my layer modes, just to see if I can get it to work a little texture magic on my characters, which always helps. So here we go. This is me not coping with having a grey background, but not wanting to do anything that like overpowers my initial character. Like, so much about work can be in the presentation, when this is really meant to be just a character design. I want the background fill to sort of complement the character without dominating it. Um, and so yeah, I think I've used a bit of a black gradient to try and create some mood lighting. I'm not super happy with it yet, but I'll probably come back to that. Yeah, a bit of a white gradient behind the characters to pop them out. I'll be honest, I don't really know what I'm doing, which is usually the case. Lots of trial and error until something looks good. And I know I've always been told that's the difference between like the really awesome artists and those of us just starting out, is that the really, really like professional, like senior artists just make less judgment. Like, it takes them less turns to land on that thing that works. Whereas it might take me 20 goes of experimenting, trial and error before I land on the thing that I like. A super senior artist might do it in 5. They're still probably trial and erroring, but they have the experience of knowing what works and what doesn't. So yeah, I think the brown texture paper is just such an easy fallback, particularly when I'm doing something that I want to look like it could go into the D&D player's manual. Of course, I've got a little shadow on there now to ground them. Yeah, so lots of just like little bits and tricks at the moment. As I've been quite vocal about saying, I've been super into Critical Role at the moment, which is just reminding me of my love of D&D. One of my first video games growing up was Baldur's Gate, and I didn't know it then, but I do now that was obviously built off of the original D&D game. And is iconic. I've recently gone back to playing that with my other partner, Rothgar. Um, and I really just want to maybe start filling my portfolio with characters like these. And I thought, what a great place to start as to doing my polycule, my closest people, as how I would see them in the D&D universe. So now I'm going back and doing a bit more of the nice painting. Still using my texture brush, just sort of picking colors as I go, just to sort of highlight and smooth what I've already put down, and just to sort of blend everything, and make stuff pop. And that texture, I think, is really working for me now. Sort of makes it look less flat. Yeah. For me, if I was going to do my character, which I'm sure I'll get to, I'm a fire sorcerer because I like fire, and I'm a bit crazy for the magic. I like to think that as an artist, I make magic. I sort of settled on an Avariel as my race, which is a winged elf, because those who know me best know I am obsessed with phoenixes. So I figure that's probably going to be the closest I'll get. Whereas Leisha, who is represented here, we all know that she's an ocean baby. So yeah, now I've added some pink to the water cat. So I don't have it up at the moment, but I've got some axolotl references to try and like pull those colors together. And that's about where I left it, which is a pretty good base to start with. I'm so overwhelmingly happy with how this turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I look forward to doing more. Thank you.